told you. So you've been wanting to get into doing some leather work, maybe. Maybe you're making knives and you want to make your own knife sheaths. You've been looking for a cheap leather sewing machine. Yeah, I know that's what I did. Whenever I started making knives, I wanted to make my own leather, do my own leather work, make my own sheaths for my knives. Didn't want to pay nobody else to do it. I'd been sewing them up by hand with a sewing awl, saddler's awl. And I got to looking for a leather sewing machine, and I came across the Chinese leather sewing machine, hand cranked. And I tried and tried, looked around for, see how good they was, if it worked, or if I could use them. And then I found some of my answers, but not all of them. I ended up buying one and trying it out. I've had it for a while now. For doing knife sheaths, I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it for doing knife sheaths. Although somebody might have a little bit more luck with it than I have. For one thing, I don't like the thread, size of the thread. I can't use my big 1mm sewing thread that I use with my sewing awl. So this is it. This is the Chinese leather sewing machine. Of course, yeah, it is. It's hand cranked. But whenever I was looking for one of these, looking for something, I wanted something that'd sew some, 7 to 9 ounce leather. And I wasn't for sure what to get. I mean, you see sewing machines all over the place, and they say for leather, but my big question I wanted to know was, will it sew heavy leather? So the answer to my question, would it sew big heavy leather? Now notice I don't have the thread. I don't have the thread run through it right at this point, but this was the main thing I was worried about. Sewing heavy leather. Well, this is 7 to 9 ounce leather, strap leather. There's another name for it. So as you can see, it went through that no problem. Now would it go through 2 pieces of leather like that? That was the next question I had. And yes, it will go through 2 pieces of 7 to 9 ounce leather. But what about 3 pieces? Because whenever you do a knife sheath, where you're sewing, most of the time you do have 3 layers of this. Because when you put your blade in, you want an extra layer right here so that the cutting edge don't cut stitching when you come out. So will it do 3 layers? It will. It gets a little harder. But also, even though that it will go through 3 layers of 7 to 9 ounce leather, even though it'll sew through 3 layers of 7 to 9 ounce leather, I don't recommend it for making knife sheaths or pistol holsters. And the reason being is because the stitch line, the thread for one, it's too small. It don't look real good. And next reason is it's inconsistent with its stitching. And if you're making a $300 knife and you make the sheath for it and stitching don't look good, your $300 knife. Even though you've got a nice knife, your sheath does help sell your knife. So, you know, it might be, I think it would probably work all right, work pretty good for if you're making, doing shoe work. That's actually what this is for. Now, it might be all right for making wallets and doing shoe repair, you know, stuff like that, something, little canvas work, blue jeans. So, I mean, you might have better luck with it, like with that, than I did. The main thing, now some of the other questions I had about this also, whenever I was looking them up, was once I got this, I didn't know how to set it, didn't know how to run the thread through it. Now, still ain't real sure how that actually goes, but I'll show you what I do know about this and about the settings on it. Right. So first off, this is for your bobbin. You can put your bobbin wheel on that, and then of course spin that around, and it'll string up. It'll put the thread on your bobbin. Now the next thing is these are your pressure plates for your thread. Now I had a lot of trouble trying to get those set, because as you can see, you know, like, you buy cheap, you're going to get cheap, and it come like this with little flaws and defects on it, which at the same time don't really affect the performance of this machine. But the thread, what I found is it goes through here, and you can either run it down through this one and then come up, over, and up, back up through here. But my thread kept getting hung up, and so I just ran it through this top one. And then run it up under here, over through this, and there's a tube right here on the top. Run your thread down through that. Of course, now it comes out down here, close to the needle. You may have to take something and help pull that thread through it. Then you thread your needle. Now over here, here's another pressure setting. That, whenever now you can see this arm, which goes up and down. It's what goes up and down, pushes the needle up and down. You can turn that. That's another pressure setting, but not like most sewing machines. When you adjust this pressure setting, your foot, it also adjusts your stitch length. It can either be a small stitch length or a long stitch length. So keep that in mind. Now for the bobbin wheel, there's this little plate. You just lift it up. It's got a place to put your fingernails. Pick it up. Of course, your bobbin wheel is in here. You just pull that out. Now, still got stained dye on my hands from working on leather. Try my best to show this. So there's the bobbin wheel. And you've got two holes on the top, and you've got two holes on the inside. Run your thread through the first hole, and then there's another pressure plate. That's another pressure setting to set your bobbin. There's a little screw right here. Tighten or loosen it less pressure, more pressure. So you run it behind that little pressure plate and back through the top hole. Now, and the way that I put it back in is I've got the thread where it's winding it towards the back, and then just pull on it. Make sure your thread's going to come out. So whenever you hold it up like this, and when you pull it, it's going to spin counterclockwise. So drop that back in here. Pull this over to the side. There's a little groove there. Pull your thread over to the side. Slide your plate back over it. And then to get it to pick up the bobbin, all you gotta do is crank it. Of course, your needle will have to be threaded to pick up this bobbin. But it will pick it right up, pull it back through. So now that I've went through the showing where the pressure settings are. Pressure settings are important for sewing whatever it is you're sewing. You do have to adjust it. If you're gonna sew wallets with it, you'll have to make sure to take a couple pieces of other leather, double them up, however thick your wallet's gonna be, and you want that bobbin to come whenever you're sewing it. You want that bobbin to come back up inside the leather where you're sewing whenever it goes. That way that it looks like a double stitch on both sides, and it locks that stitch in also. As far as, like I said, as far as knife making, making sheaths for knives, I don't recommend it. Or pistol holsters, I don't recommend it for that either. Also, another thing is when you're making a knife sheath for something, you don't want to mess it up, because you got a $300 knife, and you don't want to go through all that trouble cutting out the leather and getting it ready. When you start sewing it up, you don't want to put no more marks on it. You don't want to booger it up. The walking foot on this, when you first get it, it's got some very aggressive teeth on it, and it will scratch and mark and eat up your leather. I had to sand this one down so it didn't leave all the marks on it. So keep that in mind too. But as far as doing shoe repair, I don't do shoe repair. This is what this is actually designed for. So it might be good for that. And of course, like wallet making, you're getting to be into about the same thickness as shoes. Wallets, you generally make them out of 2 to 3 ounce leather, and shoes, I don't know about shoes that don't make them, but I guess that they're 4 to 6 ounce leather. So it might be good for that. But if you're wondering for a knife sheath, no. Stick with your Saddler's Awl.